Shall we begin?
Hello, friends. Welcome back to the More Than Just Keto podcast. This is season 2. I am one of your hosts, Ashley.
Hey, everybody. I am your other host, Molly. We were going to discuss restriction because, Ashley and I, we decide what we're going to talk about before we talk about it, and then we just go with it.
Yep.
And we thought restriction is a good thing to talk about. But the more that we discussed restriction, the more we decided we're going to go in a different.
Well, it led to like a whole nother conversation about
That would
restriction.
Yes.
Yeah.
It led to a completely different conversation because it seems like restriction is where we start. So for example, I need to lose weight. What am I going to do? I'm going to go on a diet, right? You're going to restrict whatever it is. You're going to restrict certain things. Specifically in keto, we restrict sugar. So it sometimes, it is necessary, the restriction, when especially
it's super necessary.
Depending on the way of eating, like we said, but keto specifically, which is what we're talking about and what we enjoy, is cutting out the sugar. So we are restricting sugar. But any diet, you're restricting something.
Yes. Yeah.
But then after restriction, you can, and not everyone does this because Ashley and I both have shared. I did it for decades. She did it for many, many, many years. I'm way older than her, but that we dieted, quit dieting, quit dieting. So that's the yo-yo. But then we moved past that and we both started keto as a diet. But both of us have shared how we then changed to a lifestyle, right? Went to a lifestyle. Keto was our lifestyle. But we thought we've talked about this too, together and on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
What is maintenance going to look like? We hear people talking about maintenance in the community and how maintenance is hard. And I always thought in my head, I'm like, maintenance is going to be so hard because everybody says how hard it is.
Yep.
And Ashley, I think you mentioned on one of the episodes, maintenance being like aftercare. And I really liked that.
Maintenance in my mind is not like this mythical creature where your journey comes to a stop and now you're just going to eat the same 5 foods or whatever, and you're just going to do the same thing over and over again. To me, it's a continuation in some form, but maybe where you're more comfortable because you have lost a good majority of your weight and you are maintaining the same weight. To me, I think of it as, the aftercare of a diet, right? Maintenance to me is aftercare. And I call it diet retirement. And I have mentioned that here before.
Yes.
Is that your diet mentality retires. And this is very in line with what we're talking about here as we start our journeys and we're evolving. And that's what you're explaining is over time, this pattern of behavior changes and morphs. And we start to make different choices based on where we think we want to be. And a lot of times that's because we have an end goal.
Right.
And you and I, especially in the last year, have really done some soul searching when it comes to this lifestyle, what it means to be in maintenance. Do we want maintenance? Do we know when maintenance is happening? There's just all these questions, like you said, in the community, people talk about it, but how do you decide what that's going to look like for you and when you're going to start or stop or when to call it, right?
Right. And, for the longest time, and we both have talked about this with one another, we had like a goal. We had this idea of where we're supposed to be in our weight because that's what the chart said. And this is what we do. And again, that's changed. That's evolved. We no longer have this end goal. We don't have this necessarily, not a number, I should say. We don't have this end number. Right. Now, all of that said, what we have come to is that lifestyle, right? Lifestyle, we talked about lifestyle. We're going deeper about this because lifestyle really, if you think about lifestyle as anything, it's whatever habits you have regularly and you make this lifestyle. You can have a healthy, you can have a healthy lifestyle or an unhealthy lifestyle. You can have one that leads you to a better life or one that leads you to like the worst life.
Right.
As it always seems to be, Ashley and I, we're on like the same
or synchronized.
Track. We're in like the
we're like synchronized.
We're on the same wavelength all the time. It's crazy. Like we're the people that are going to show up at your party with the same outfit on. We
and
didn't
have
even
not
plan it
talked
that way.
about it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
So in this particular instance, we both have been thinking about
we've been doing
We,
some soul searching on what that means and what
yeah,
that looks like
lifestyle and things like that. And I think because of that, then we came back together talking about this restriction. Ashley said, evolution is a lifestyle. And I was like, yeah. So what if the next step is not maintenance? What if you're not done? What if there's something else? So there are some who go on a diet, they lose the weight, they have a certain number they want to, they get to that weight, then they figure out how to stay there. Great for them. That's fine. Not knocking that whatsoever.
No, I think that's great.
And
if that's what you want, and you have to know what you want. And if that's in tune and that's exactly what you want,
that's it. But
that's perfect.
But we're speaking beyond that because Ashley and I both thought that's what we wanted. Yes. We thought that's what we were going towards. But instead, we separately, even though we're on the same, like I said, the same track, we want something else. And with that something else comes different changes. And also with that something else comes, hey, we don't know what number on the scale it's going to be. So what we're talking about is not maintenance. We're talking about evolving.
Yeah. We're talking about a journey that continues to evolve. And even when you think, okay, well, I've hit this point that I set for myself, what does that mean? What does that mean? Does that mean we just, like I said, we just eat the same things and now we're here where we are? I'm such a believer of that you can always do something to be better, to do better. We've talked about this a ton of times on the podcast, the holy trinity of health, right? The mind, the body, the spirit. So in my mind, the job is never done.
Right.
I didn't realize that when I started. I didn't think I was going to get this far, to be really honest. So for me, as far as I could see, was a number that I picked out, and that was the destination. I didn't know that all these other factors were going to play out, and I was going to be able to do this long term, but also find so much passion for taking care of myself and finding other ways to continue to evolve. I thought that, hey, the number that I reached, that's where I get. And then, that's where we are. I've realized that I actually want more for myself. And that's an amazing thing in its own.
Yeah.
Because it's not something anybody can give you. It's something that you have to carve out for yourself. When you start a journey, you have no idea how to think to this point right here.
No.
But let me just tell you, it's so possible. And if you continue to do the work, it's just like anything else in your life, you will reap the reward. The reward for me, the mindset change that I've had, the evolution that I've had and how I think about my food and my diet and my exercise is so different.
Yeah.
I wanted to be super skinny, super thin. I started this journey because I wanted to wear something. I've shared that. If you've listened to any of the episodes prior, we talk about it often. We come back and forth to that. I grew up in the 90s and waif thin, the early 2000s, super, super, super skinny.
Yeah.
That was hot. That was in. You were beautiful. That was the standard of beauty.
And the low rise jeans.
The low rise jeans. You got to be real thin to wear those. You know what I mean?
Hanging out. Do you remember they did that?
Girl, the whale tail. I was here for it. But
what? The what?
The whale tail.
Whale tail?
That shows in the back of your jeans.
I didn't know that's what it was called. I didn't know that's what it was called. I got the tramp stamp. I do have one.
Tail, when the underwear shows outside of the jeans. Look, makes the whale.
I did not know that.
Funny.
Okay. You learn something new every day. Love it. Go on.
So yeah, the whale tail, I was here for all of that. That was like the style. Being thin also played a role into how the clothes were made. So the way they fit, the way crop tops and low pants. And I mean, that's what we were promoting back then. That was the look. And I wanted to look like that. So when I was older and decided that I wanted to lose weight, I still had that old mindset of like, that was beauty. Right. Or if I was just thin, everything would be better.
Yeah.
And I have said that before. That has changed so unbelievably much for me.
And in a short time too.
A short time. I never thought I'd be sitting here saying, I no longer desire to be thin. I desire to be healthy. I desire to be strong and faster every day than I was the day before, and more agile and more toned. And I always said, like, I don't want to look like a man, which I feel so stupid for saying those kinds of things. Let me just say, I feel so, that's so like judgmental also. Like, do your thing. I've also let go of a lot of that, right?
Yeah.
I don't care if my muscles show now.
Yeah. What? Sorry, say that again.
I don't care if my muscles are showing or growing. That is a direct result of the work that I've put in.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited about that. And I like my curvy body, and I like the muscles, and I like the tone, and I feel stronger. And that's what it shifted to, what I want to look like and how I want to feel. And that's a huge, huge evolution, because when you stop chasing a look and you're going for a feeling and a lifestyle, and what's next is kind of like oh yeah, I've conquered that. What can I do now?
Yeah.
That is evolution that's going to continue, because it's worth more than just how you look.
Right. Right. When did you start feeling like that? That was over a year ago. I know, over a year ago, but you were how far into your journey with keto? Like I always say it like this: the last diet I tried. So the last diet I tried was keto, and I haven't stopped. It's changed a lot.
Oh yeah.
Be your own experiment. Like, but I still consider myself in the keto world. It's the low sugar, low carb, that world. So that was the diet I found that changed everything and made me healthy. To be honest, it's where I stopped yo-yoing. So since you started keto back in 2019, when did you have this shift of change?
I think when I got a good amount of weight off, I think when weight was starting to slow down around the 60, 70 pound mark, it gets increasingly harder. And you have to kind of decide, how low are you willing to go? What are you looking at? And we talked about that, I had a number exactly that I wanted to get to. But I realized as I started making changes in the gym, when I started, I didn't really know a lot about weightlifting.
Right.
I didn't do much of it. I did some machines, and like now
I
joke, I played around in there, really.
Yeah.
Let's just be real. I didn't really know what I was doing. I had no education on any of that.
Right.
I saw the machine. It had some directions on it. I was like, okay, how much can I lift? Oh, let me do that. Okay. I didn't know anything about proper form and just all these things that I've learned now. Right. So I want to say, when I lost majority of my weight, I started, and we talked about this, thinking about, what is this going to look like for me? What is my ultimate goal? And I will tell you, as I started doing more exercise, that's really where I started seeing as I lost more weight and I had more loose skin, and I was, and I've talked about this, struggling with some of the body image things that come from massive weight loss. I was like, okay, I'm seeing these people that did have massive weight loss, and they were weightlifting, and they were looking toned and beautiful. And I was like, you know what? I think the key here is to build lean muscle.
Yeah.
And that can mess with your scale a little bit. That right there makes you reevaluate everything.
Yes, absolutely.
So I would say probably around 60, 70 pounds in, I realized, okay, I don't want to stop doing this. I need to think about what else I can do to continue my health journey.
Right. As far as the exercise goes, I started exercising back in the end of 2014, early 2015. I went to the gym, played with the machines.
Yeah. Did that for a lot of years.
I even did Zumba a couple times.
Oh, yeah.
And I also, you can get a free session with the trainer to start, right? Okay. Yeah. So I set up my session with the trainer. I'm not going to lie. I'm sure I was insecure, but he also wasn't the nicest guy in the world. It felt very uncomfortable, awkward. I was obese. This is back.
Yeah.
I'm 5'3.5". I was over 205 pounds. I stopped looking at 205, and that was months before I went to the gym. I did the gym. I did the trainer. I just didn't feel comfortable. So I met with him the one time. I did not look for him again. So I just decided then just get on the treadmill. And so I just got on the treadmill and went for about 2 weeks. And it was a New Year's resolution. And they say it's about 2 weeks. It's like statistically, it's the second Friday of January is National Quitter Day for resolutions.
Oh,
Did you know the
wow.
second Friday? So it's not a date, it's the second Friday for some reason or another with statistics and all that they've done. But I was one of those people. So I stopped going to the gym. Then I found that online stuff, which I've talked about, and I started doing home workouts. And I was like, oh, this is cool. I enjoyed working out. I couldn't believe I enjoyed working out, but it felt good to do something for myself. And so
it's
then I got to do
sort of self-care, form of self-care.
Oh, totally self-care. And I got to do sweaty selfies. And then I had this community and I had accountability and it was great. And so I was doing workouts after workouts and I consistently worked out from home for many years, but I never did. I'll put it to you like this. I've tried so many different forms of exercise, right? And this is going to go back to the evolving thing. So many different forms: dancing, biking, running, walking. I mean, what else? I can't think. I had that Gazelle machine.
Oh yeah. The elliptical.
Back
that
in
was
the
like
90s,
my go-to.
I had the Gazelle. Do you remember the Gazelle with the guy with the long blonde ponytail? The infomercial?
No.
That was the 90s. But anyway, I've tried all kinds of exercises, right? I do love to dance. I love to dance, but trying all these different exercises over the years, but always wanting and desiring to do the weights. Like I always loved seeing that body. I was an adult in the 90s. I was in my 20s in the 90s. In the 80s, it was athletic bodies. In the 80s, right, it was athletic. So that's what I saw. And I always enjoyed that body. So that was always the body I desired to have. So it is funny how our youth can influence our desire of what it is. I'm just glad mine was the athletic body. That seems the most healthy, I think, out of all of it.
Yeah, probably.
I'm just, it just seems more balanced. But anyway, so my point is I always desired that. Even in high school, I had me some dumbbells in my bedroom. I remember even trying to get my forearm with muscle, girl. But but anyway, so weights was always something I always desired, but I was always kind of scared of, if I'm honest, because I didn't really know what I was doing. Very intimidating. And then I dabbled a little bit with one of the programs when I was doing the Beachbody home workouts. It was the, I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, I really enjoyed it, but then when I stopped being consistent in 2018 and I had that fall back and I gained all the weight back I had lost and I was right back at square one again and I started keto. I got back into exercising and I would, at that time I was walking and I tried the jogging thing. It really wasn't my cup of tea. And then I got some guides for strength training, but not lifting. It's more HIIT type stuff.
Yeah.
So I did that. I didn't really like it, but I did it, whatever. There is a point to this long story, I promise. It's about the evolving. One thing I really enjoyed doing back in the day was Pilates. Love Pilates. I love the idea of the long, lean body. The Pilates, right, can give you. And yoga. I always thought yoga would be amazing for my mind and for my body, just in my joints and everything like that. So all of this to say, I've tried all of these things. And I was really looking forward to getting into the weight training. And then I hurt my shoulder. And that was at the beginning of 2020. And then I went from a torn rotator cuff to a semi-frozen shoulder to a locked shoulder, to the point where I couldn't even lift my like this. Ashley reminds me when I get discouraged or when I was getting discouraged, because I haven't been discouraged in many weeks, but she would say, Molly, you couldn't even fix your hair.
Yeah. Pete had to do your hair. You couldn't even, you had to get help. Yeah. You couldn't even put your hair up.
I could not fix my hair. I couldn't blow dry my hair. I still have a hard time, with some of it, but I can do so much now that I couldn't do. Much. When we started this podcast,
was times you would lift your arm up with the other one to move it over.
Yes, I would have to. Yes, it's true. It was that bad. But after working really hard in physical therapy, I got the movement back. And then I decided at the end of last year, I'm going to get the strength back. And I have gone harder and harder and harder. And I am loving it. Like you said, it's like you start this, you're like, oh my gosh, this is exciting. This is something I'm enjoying. Yeah. And I have evolved to this point. I've also added in the yoga and the Pilates in between.
Yeah,
So
it's great for your body.
you can try so many things and then find what you really like and then put it together. But that's for another day. We're not going to talk about exercise. But my point was the evolving. I evolved to where I am now with the working out. It was trial and error. It was up and down. It was intimidation. It was excitement. It was letdown. It was, you go through all of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But then you get to a point where I am right now, and I don't know where I'm going to be in a year.
Exactly.
And I didn't know I was going to be here last year at this time because I didn't even know I was going to be able to, because it was last year.
You thought you were going to have surgery on that arm, remember?
I thought I was going to have surgery, and I desperately did not want surgery. So I worked really hard not to have surgery. And doing that work showed me that I can do anything, because to be able to work it back without having a surgery was a big deal for me. So I was very happy to accomplish that. But the point is, all that you have to go through so many things sometimes to get to that point. Like Ashley said earlier, you don't just get there. Like you evolve over time.
It's all those little choices that add up. It's all the choices. It's like all the accomplishments start to stack up.
Yeah.
And you start to look back, and when you put them all together, you're like, wow, okay, every time I made a change, I learned something.
Yes.
And, I
pay attention. You have to pay attention.
Pay attention how you feel more than anything, but also don't be afraid to make mistakes.
That's what I meant by trial and error. That's a good way to say it.
Some of our largest mistakes become the biggest blessings.
Yeah.
If we're afraid to make mistakes, or we're afraid to take a leap of faith in trying something that's scary or new, we're not going to get the result that we're looking for. Right. And then we're not evolving. We're stopping. That's a stop for us. Yeah. I encourage you to look past that, push past it, give yourself, like you said, try one thing. If that doesn't work, then try another. Keep trying.
As long as it takes.
You're going to get there as long as you keep going. If you stop, you're never going to reach any of the milestones. And that's really how you have to think of it, as milestones, not in the end. It's just a milestone. We're just on this journey where we continue on, and we will take many roads, and it leads to many paths. And essentially for me, what I've realized is that there is no end, that I just hope that I just continue to be so lucky enough to continue to evolve.
Yeah.
And to get to experiment with my body and my health and see where that leads me. And this whole idea of having this stopping point is limiting. It's limiting. And I don't want to be limited. I want to be completely unlimited in all of my endeavors and all the things I want to accomplish. And I don't even know what some of those are yet.
No.
And that's exciting. And when you put that type of energy forward every single day, I swear to you, there's not a single thing you can't do. And you will radiate this throughout your life in all facets. All other areas of your life will continue to receive that same amount of energy and that type of energy.
Flows over.
It affects every part of your life. You can't help it because you learn that changing things is a good thing, that evolving is positive, and that you're learning and that you're becoming, and all of these things are adding value and joy into your life.
Isn't that just amazing, though, that we came to the idea of evolving? You know what I'm saying? Like, I love that.
From restriction, from dieting
to evolving. Yeah. Back years ago, and I might have shared this before, but years ago, I had this idea. It was my first Instagram. Actually, it was my first health and fitness Instagram account I made years ago anonymously. And I called it Starting Inside. And I had just felt one day, just really strong. I'd always heard, finish what you start. That's what always you hear, finish what you start. And I remember thinking, not finish what you start, continue what you start. And I think that's takes on, like, what did you start? Well, this, but then it became this, and then it became this, and then it became, so you just keep going. You never stop. Like Ashley said, there is no end. I agree with you. I'm feeling there's no end to growth and change and improvement and development, self-development, self-awareness, growth.
That's supposed to be for life.
For life. It has to
lifestyle.
be for life.
It's something that's supposed to continue. It's not supposed to have a hard point.
There's no hard end, and there's no stopping point.
And no stopping. Will you pivot? Will you pause? Yes. 1,000 times over.
There's ups and downs in life. Right.
and you will overcome setbacks. There will be times where you think you're on the right track and you are so far off and you don't even know it.
Yeah.
The whole point is to stay the course, though. Regardless of wherever you go, you're always moving forward.
Yes.
And we're moving forward in who we want to be, who we are, and the things that we want will change over time.
Yeah. Well, if you're not moving, and there are times you're not moving forward. I've had times, and like you just said that, right? But if you're not moving forward, you're stuck.
Right.
So you can't just stay stuck forever. And the only person that can change it is you.
Right. And you may go left and you may go right. And even though you can't go forward, you have to look at, I'm a huge believer of everything happens for you. Everything happens for a reason, right?
Yeah.
So if you are in a stuck season, that's because there's more work to do in that spot that you're in right now.
Yes. You can't move forward.
You can't move forward
what it is that you've got to do then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You haven't finished
love that. Yes.
what you're doing. So you need to go back and say, okay, I said I got the lesson. Like, yeah, I get it.
Right.
No,
you
got to slow down. There was something else. There's something else that you're missing. There's something else you haven't done. There is something else, regardless if it's effort, regardless if it's information, regardless if it's practice and conquering whatever the challenge is.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, emotionally, physically, whatever. If you can't overcome, if you feel stuck, there is a reason. You will get out of it, but you've got to figure out what the root cause of that is. And I truly believe that. And I always say that when people are like, oh, I just feel like I'm in this situation, because there's something else to learn here. You're not done you want to move on, but really you haven't learned or haven't gained what you're supposed to learn here.
Right.
Or that's what I try to think about being stuck. You think about plateaus that way as well. There's something going on here. I haven't mastered this. There's something going on. I need to make a change. What is it that I need to learn about this situation?
Yeah.
And there's so many things in our lives that this has happened. And almost all of us can look back and go, you know what?
Yes.
That's right. You're right. Because I wanted to move forward and I didn't. And then what I ended up learning is that I really needed to reconcile this. And that's what got everything going.
Yes. Don't you love that? Like quite often you don't know in the moment, but quite often you can look back and see. And then that's when you share that. And then it gives other people hope to move forward.
And I think like what you said is like often in the moment you don't know. And so I have this like practice and I'm like, I know I don't understand this. I know I cannot possibly understand this, but I know this is happening for a reason. There is something that I'm supposed to learn here. And I've shared this about my smell and taste, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why this happened or like why that it's still a situation, but I know that I've done a lot of growth in the last year. And it's funny that you can lose something to gain something, but taking care of myself change. I thought I was doing really good. And I mentioned this. I could have done better. And now I realize, oh,
it took that to get you.
So yeah. And not all of our setbacks have to set us back forever.
They can set you up for,
they are usually one of the most transformative times is when we feel the most miserable, stuck, lost, depressed, anxiety ridden. There's usually a reason and we've got to get to the root of it, or we have to make choices that support taking care of ourselves. And I am really good at putting other things first and sometimes not always taking care of myself. And that's something that I've changed. And seeing doctors and doing all those things, like before I just like, oh, I'll be fine. I changed that because I realized I wasn't doing the things that I needed to do to have the life I want to have.
Yeah.
So it's funny, but I know all of us can think of a scenario.
Oh yeah, definitely.
We've been in that situation and be like, you're right.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Something you said just now, it made me think of something I heard. And I think this is an episode all in itself, actually. The word heal is in health. Have you ever heard that before?
Ooh.
I know. So if you really are going to be healthy, you have to heal. So a lot of our trouble is because we're still hurting in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And like you said, stopping paying attention, that setback, it could be the greatest thing that ever happened for you, even though it seems like even though it feels like, why is this happening to me? It could be happening for you. That setback could be setting you up for something else. Right. So paying attention to those things, everything happens for a reason.
Yes.
Everything, even the worst of the worst, there is a reason. And usually it's for you to help somebody else. That's just what I've learned over the years. A lot of times,
yeah.
It is for you. Like here we are in this podcast. How much have we been vulnerable and shared?
Oh, I mean, tons. Things I thought I'd never share.
Tons. Yeah. And guess what? It's helping other people. We're getting feedback of how much this is helping people. We were called to do this. This was our assignment. This is what we're doing. Yeah. And we are willing to do it. So we do it. And we have so much more to learn and grow through and go through and heal through.
And we're growing as we share. And
we share.
We get feedback. And it also helps our community, but also helps ourselves too. And
right. And there are others in our community that share, and it helps us. Like it's just this beautiful, like
it's a synergy that exists. Yeah. And I think, and I'm not saying at all like, oh, don't be depressed or don't, I mean, I went through.
Feel your feelings.
Feel your feelings. And I'm not saying, oh, you'll just get through it.
No, that we're not being that toxic positivity that everybody loves to say.
What I'm saying is like,
we've been there, done that.
Just know in your darkest moments that it's just that they're moments. And
they're moments.
There will be a blip in time. There will be a time where you are coming out of the other side of this. And if you truly do the work inside, when it's over, you will look back and you will say, that was the time.
Absolutely.
That was the time I was tested and I came out of the other side. And now look how I've grown. It's pretty magical, that transformation that happens, that evolution of healing through trauma and pain. And, you know,
I have a sister, and I've shared this before, who has been in her life suicidal. And I'm very heightened aware of that. And so I pay attention. And one of the things that I have told her, and it really has helped her, and so I'm going to say it here, and it's pretty much what you just said. I remind her that this moment is a moment. This isn't forever. This isn't for the rest of your life. Like what she considered doing in her life by committing suicide, of course, which she did not, but if she had, that's it. There's nothing more. There's no chance. There's no hope. There's no ability for change. But no, this is a moment. It will change. Ashley has been depressed. I have been depressed. We have both been
in my life.
Say again.
More than one time in our lives.
Yes. And I have self-hatred. I've had abuse. I've drugs. I mean, you name it, honey, I have done it. So I am not afraid to say what I've done, because I feel like me saying what I've done might help somebody else who's there to know that, hey, look at her. She used to be there and now she's here. I could tell you some stories. That's all I'm going to say. But then this podcast will be entirely too long. But anyway, I think, the evolving is a lifestyle. Evolution is a lifestyle. I think evolution is amazing. We all want to evolve, right? Not everybody wants to, but we should all want to evolve. That's
it's in our nature to evolve. So we should embrace it, and we should
embrace it.
We should seek it, and we should, not be scared of it. Let it lead you. Let it give you the fire to accomplish the things you want to do. Ever changing is good. Being stuck is not where you want to be. You always want to be, I always joke, I want to be better than I was yesterday in any facet, whether it's learning something new or practicing something new or accomplishing something I wasn't able to do, or lifting an extra rep of weights. It can be so small. Just eating a little bit cleaner, or taking care of myself, or saying no when I wanted,
that's important.
When I was going to say yes, and I was going to do it out of just courtesy for someone else, but I really didn't want to do it, or
no obligation.
There's so many things, small things that we can do that add up to big changes and shift our mindset over time. So it's so important to live beyond just the numbers, the clothes, the superficial things, and dig into who we want to be. Like, who's the ultimate, what do you see yourself at when you're not here any longer? What do you want people to say or remember you?
Oh yeah, what are they gonna say?
And that's what I think, right? Like, that's what I think. I want my kids to be like, man, my mom was strong, and she was fierce, and she was funny, and she was wild, and she was tender, and she was soft, and she was loving. None of the things that I want them to say have anything to do with the way I look.
Right. Or the jeans the low-rise jeans with the whale tail.
Yeah. I don't want my kids talking about my whale tail. Let me just very, very clear about that. But But you know what I'm saying? Like
Absolutely.
oftentimes when we
That's a
want people to
good,
think of us,
yes, that is a great way.
it's not really all physical. Now, I am all about being your physical most healthy. And for me, losing weight made me healthy. And so my kids will be able to say that because, and it does, you know, that obviously
Oh
is due
yeah,
to my
definitely.
weight. But
Yeah.
all the other things, that's all internal work, baby. That's all internal
Baby.
work.
Yeah.
Baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's that, you know, that's
Mhm.
evolving as a person and always just aiming to be that little bit better. Not perfect,
No, never perfect because
not
you'll never do it.
not
You'll never, it'll
someone
never
else.
happen.
It'll
Not
never
someone
happen.
else. Is that what
Not
you
someone
said?
else.
Nope,
Yep.
not someone else.
Not someone else. Not perfect.
The best you that you can be,
Yeah.
just evolving into that.
Yeah.
I
That
say this,
person.
I say, my body's not perfect. I'm not going to be a supermodel. I'm not going to be a swimsuit model. I'm not going to have that body, but I'm going to have the best body for me.
Yeah.
So then I'm going to work hard to build the body that I am able to have, not
Exactly.
what somebody else
The
has.
realistic, you know,
The
version
one
of
that
yourself
is here, but
yeah.
at its
The best,
finest.
at its best self. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always say to people, you know, stopping the journey on any part of your life, right, is like saying like, oh, I'm nice enough. I'm good enough.
Right.
I'm yeah, I've evolved a lot. Like I don't think there's much else for me to learn. Like I'm
Oh,
good.
let's see. Now
You know
there
what I
you
mean?
go. Oh,
You know what I'm
yes.
saying? So like for me, when I think of like evolving and thinking of the holy trinity of health
It's
as, you
never
know, mind,
ending.
body, spirit, you can never be too kind. You can never be too helpful. You can never be too nice. You can never be too smart. I mean, this list goes on, right? You see my
Yeah.
point?
Yeah.
So there's always something to work on.
Always. And they say the more you know, the more you learn you don't know. So keep learning, keep growing, keep going, keep moving forward.
Yes.
Don't be afraid, because when you're afraid, let me back that up. Be afraid, but do it anyway.
Do it
because
anyway.
fear is not a bad thing.
Fear is a spark of change.
Allowing fear to control what you do is not, it's not going to serve you. So yeah. Be afraid.
Use the fear as a spark of change to light the fire, right?
Yes. Yes. Very good. That was a great ending. Let's stop it there.
Yeah.
We hope y'all got something out of this episode. What it was originally going to be evolved into something else. So we thank y'all for tuning in. We hope you got something from this. I know I did. I always do.
I always do.
Thanks, Ashley. I always get something from what you got to say. And we're going to see y'all on the next episode.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us today. You can find and connect with us over on Instagram at More Than Just Keto. Don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss out on the fun. We'll see you next time.